In 1878, a butcher in rural Tennessee packed an entire hog, 200 pounds of fresh meat, into a wooden barrel with nothing but salt and a handful of dried herbs. 6 months later, in the heat of August, he opened that barrel. The meat was firm, the colour was deep, the smell was clean. He fed it to his family that night. Nobody got sick. Nobody ever got sick. The barrel method he used had been working without interruption for 400 years. It stopped being taught in 1923. The method is called dry salt curing. And the version that actually worked, the version that kept meat edible through a Tennessee August, is not the one in any cookbook printed after 1950. Here is what it was: a full side of pork, 1 pound of coarse salt for every 4 pounds of meat, packed in layers, sealed with a weighted lid, stored at 50 degrees or below for the first 6 weeks. That is the foundation. Every pioneer family knew that much. Every pioneer family salted meat. Most of them still lost half their winter supply by February. Salt alone does not explain it. The ones who opened barrels in August and found perfect meat, the ones whose supply never failed, whose families never got sick, whose cellars never turned, were doing something additional. Something that was not written in any cookbook. Something passed in person in kitchens between women who had learned it from their mothers and their mothers before them. Salt curing appears in Roman agricultural manuals dated to 200 BC. The Roman legions that moved across Europe carried salt-cured pork that had been packed months before. Lewis and Clark crossed the continent on it. Civil War rations included salt-cured pork, preserved 6 to 8 months before a single soldier ever touched it. The knowledge was not specialized. It was not secret. It was universal. Then it disappeared from every kitchen in America inside of 2 generations. Spring was slaughter season on the American frontier. The animals that had eaten through the winter stores were processed in March and April before the heat arrived. The salt cure was not a winter method. It was a spring method, a way of turning March meat into August food. The timing mattered. The window for proper curing opened with the first warm soil and closed when summer heat made the process unpredictable. The families who got it right understood something about that window that modern food science has only recently been able to name. Himalayan pink salt, sea salt, wood ash, 3 materials that frontier families used interchangeably in the curing barrel. 3 materials that share one property no cookbook ever explained: natural nitrates. The same compound the modern food industry synthesizes, patents and sells as sodium nitrite, an $800 million additive market, was present in wood ash for free. For centuries. The chemistry was always there. The understanding just got buried under a more profitable alternative. The full system worked like this. Dry salt draws moisture from the meat surface. That draws down the water activity, removes the environment pathogenic bacteria require to survive. The natural nitrates, whether from wood ash or saltpeter, added directly, penetrate the meat tissue and bind with proteins at the cellular level. That binding creates conditions where the most dangerous organisms, the ones that cause actual food poisoning, cannot establish. But that is still only half the mechanism. The other half is what the industry never tells you about. A bacterium called lactobacillus, the same organism in every cup of yogurt you have ever eaten, naturally colonizes the surface of properly salted meat within the first 10 days of curing. It produces lactic acid. That acid drops the surface pH of the meat below the survival threshold for Listeria, Salmonella and Clostridium. The meat is not just preserved, it is actively defended by a living colony that moves in, establishes and holds. Modern charcuterie, ici, The 40 tartars a pound artisan product sold in specialty grocers is built entirely on this principle. The terminology has been updated, the white coats have been added. The mechanism is identical to what a Virginia farm wife was doing in 1850 without knowing what lactobacillus was. Stop! The meatpacking industry in the United States is worth $220 billion annually. Every dollar of it depends on cold chain logistics, refrigerated trucks, refrigerated warehouses, refrigerated display cases, refrigerated homes. Ask a food scientist what happens to that supply chain if a 6-month shelf-stable meat preservation method becomes common household knowledge. Ask them directly. The conversation ends very quickly. A full salt-cured side of pork costs $15 in salt and herbs. The same amount of refrigerated pork purchased over 6 months costs $200 to $300. Requires continuous electricity, requires weekly trips to the store, expires in days. The math is not complicated. The math is the problem. The USDA began issuing warnings about home meat curing after 1950. Botulism. The warnings were real, the attribution was not. The botulism outbreaks that generated those warnings came from improperly processed home-canned goods. Jars with bad seals, wrong temperatures, insufficient acid. Not salt-cured meat, not barrel curing. The distinction was never clearly communicated to the American public. It did not need to be. Within 20 years of those warnings, home curing was gone. The knowledge that had fed American families for 4 centuries, that had crossed a continent, supplied armies, survived famines, is reclassified as dangerous, amateur, pre-scientific, something best left to professionals with refrigeration. Traditional salt-cured hams in Spain, Chamon Iberico, aged 24 to 36 months at room temperature. Zero refrigeration. $200 a pound at retail. The same biochemical process. The same lactobacillus colonization. The same nitrate chemistry. The country that never abandoned the method still practices it. Still eats it. Still has a functioning food system built on shelf-stable protein that requires no cold chain, no electricity, and no weekly purchase. American country ham, still produced in Virginia and Kentucky, uses methods unchanged since the 1800s. Still shelf-stable, still safe, still largely unknown outside the counties where it is made. But there was one specific herb combination that appeared in barrel cure records across Tennessee, Virginia, and Kentucky with unusual consistency. Not black pepper, not bay leaf. Something that no modern food preservation manual has ever documented as having antimicrobial properties, until a single university study in 2014 confirmed what those families already knew in 1850. The herbs were juniper berries, wild thyme, and sugar maple bark. Used together, added to the salt pack in a specific ratio that varied slightly by region, but remained recognizable across every record that documents it. Juniper berries contain terpinen 4-ol and alpha-pinene, volatile organic compounds with documented antimicrobial activity against Listeria monocytogenes and Staphylococcus aureus. The 2014 study, published in the Journal of Food Protection, measured a 63% reduction in pathogenic bacterial load on salt-cured pork samples treated with juniper extract versus control samples. 63%. From a berry that grew wild on every hillside in Tennessee. Free, permanent, already there. Wild thyme contributes thymol, the same active compound in modern antiseptic mouthwash. Sugar maple bark contains tannins that bind to meat proteins and reinforce surface integrity against microbial penetration. The women who packed those barrels did not know the chemistry. They knew the results. 4 centuries of results. Families that ate well, cellars that held, winters that did not run short. There is one meat-packing company in the United States that filed a patent in 1987 for a preservation process using compounds derived from juniper. The patent was granted. The process was never commercialized. The patent expired in 2007 and was quietly allowed to lapse. The internal research documents that supported the patent application have never been made public.